I've traveled through the United States, and I always love to go to the grocery stores, and 9 times out of 10, the crops they have in their stores come from California, probably within a 30-mile radius of our farm here. We know how the rest of the country really depends on what California grows. My name is Don Cameron, and we're on Terra Nova Ranch. When we first got started in 2011, the idea of capturing floodwater was fairly unique at that time. Floodwater typically was something everybody wanted to get rid of. We looked at floodwater as an opportunity, something we could bring on farm, supplement our irrigation, and start rebuilding the aquifer below us.
So many people don't even know what groundwater is because it's below the ground. We can't see it. We don't know it's there. Yet groundwater is such a vital resource for California. In an average year, we get 40% of our water supply from groundwater. In droughts, that goes up over 60%. So if we're not replenishing those aquifers, we're not going to be prepared for drought.
To me, a lot of this on-farm concept or over-irrigation wouldn't have been possible without sustainable conservation and Don Cameron. That story really got out there. True success story. He's implemented it. He's growing valuable and sustainable crops on-farm recharge credits. So it works.
After partnering with Don in 2011, we realized, wow, we could really use a software tool to bring all this information together to help water agencies figure out how they can maximize groundwater recharge.
Sustainable Conservation and Earth Genome had developed the groundwater recharge assessment tool, or GRAT. It moved it from something that seemed kind of theoretical, this is a good concept, to something that people actually saw working on the ground.
The Department of Water Resources embraced that tool and realized it could really help the department prepare watersheds for our changing hydrology.
What would happen if we actually expanded this approach to an entire watershed, to go from its headwaters all the way through its groundwater and everything in between? And just this last year, published that report, which demonstrates in quantitative terms how flood-managed aquifer recharge can reduce flood risk, replenish groundwater basins, and improve habitat.
The flood risk in that watershed is 6-fold, meaning there could be 6 times the volume of water coming down the Merced River in a big wet year. If they used existing infrastructure and farmland, reoperate reservoirs, and build some new conveyance, they could address 65% of that flood risk and reduce groundwater overdraft by 63%. When the Department of Water Resources saw that and saw how important that information was, they realized, every watershed really needs this information. So they committed to expanding these modeling studies to the 5 watersheds. For us, that was a big moment, and we launched the Watershed Moment campaign to realize the potential by translating the findings into on-the-ground action.
I knew that recharge was a thing, and we were having a very big winter. I drove by the canal, and I was like, oh my God, there's water flowing down. So I emailed our district manager. I was like, hey, if I want to do recharge, could I just open my gate and just take some of that? Because I know it's going to the river, and it's just going to flow out. And she's like, wait, we have a program. Sustainable Conservation was already working with Turlock Irrigation District, and so I got on board with them, and we started looking at how we were going to be flooding the place. Within a week, I had the telemetry set up, and I was flood irrigating.
In 2011, the general manager asked me to go out and talk to some growers to see if I can do some on-farm recharge. Out of the about dozen growers I called, I got 0 interest. And then in 2017, we again tried a pilot program. Within about a 3-week window, I had 6,000 acres signed up to be a part of the program.
It's really not a question of if we need to do this work. We have to do this work if we're going to adapt to climate change and protect communities.
Domestic wells is going out. Even the well in Fairmead at one time went out. 250 people might have been on that well, and it went out. And we were left without water. It seemed that no one cared.
Sustainable conservation, the first time that they came to our community and they wanted to do a workshop, it was introducing recharge basins. So when they started talking about recharge basin, what the heck is a recharge basin? But at least we know that we have to find out what it is. And here you had self-help enterprises, you had sustainable conservation to teach us.
We can all accomplish much more if we collaborate and work together. And I think the Watershed Moment is really demonstrating that. We have everyone from farmers to water agencies to scientists to state government to environmental justice groups, communities, and other conservation groups all working together to transform how California manages water by better integrating flood management with groundwater management, mitigating flood risk, and preparing for droughts at the same time.
By taking water when it's available in big gulps and putting it underground, we're going to be more resilient for the future.
I wanted to do it to get the message out to all the growers. We should be doing this. We're all on the brink of losing it all because groundwater is so depleted. We can't store it all in the reservoirs. Let's take it on our land.
There's so many opportunities available. We've proven it here on Terra Nova, and we can do it throughout the valley.